Welcome to 1001 Crazy. Today, we review some of the plane crash disasters caught on camera, including American Airlines Flight 191, which crashed in 1979, marking the worst aviation disaster in U.S. history, as well as a South Korean Jeju Air flight carrying 181 people that crashed on December 29, 2024. Let's go!
Dragon Airlines Flight 642, traveling from Bangkok to Taipei with a stopover in Hong Kong. Severe weather during its landing in Hong Kong, caused by a tropical storm.
Guys having a hard time.
Oh my god! It's crashed!
Oh my god.
Oh my god!
The aircraft had a rough landing which separated the right wing and main gear, leading to the plane skidding off the runway inverted and catching fire. It finally stopped on the grass beside the runway around 1,100 meters from the runway threshold. A pilot's overly aggressive maneuvering and overconfidence were blamed in an investigation when the military has released video showing the moments just before a C-17 crashed in July in Alaska.
The HMS Queen Elizabeth is the lead aircraft carrier in the English Royal Navy. In November of 2021, the Queen was stationed in the Mediterranean Sea. A pilot prepared for takeoff in a 100 million pound F-35 fighter jet. He hit the gas and aimed for the ramp. Unfortunately, he never got the bird up to speed. There's an old English military saying, lift is a gift, thrust is a must. This poor boy simply had no thrust. Thankfully, he ejected and deployed his parachute before sinking to the bottom of the ocean. Ejector seats are a pilot's last line of defense when their planes malfunction. Just ask this old-school American pilot flying a Grumman A6 Intruder. He had to bail out of his attack plane when something went wrong with the engine. Control kept screaming at him to climb, but there was nothing he could do. Eventually, climb turned into eject. He and his co-pilot shot out sideways and landed safely in the ocean. According to the pilot, the G-force from the ejection caused severe spinal compression. He was an inch shorter when they pulled him out of the water.
The Reno Air Races, also known as the National Championship Air Races, is an exhilarating and unique event held annually in Reno, Nevada, USA. An airplane crashed at the Reno Air Races on September 16, 2011. The video, while not displaying graphic visuals, effectively portrays the intense impact of the aircraft accident. It showcases the crowd's reactions and the swift reaction of emergency vehicles. Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 was a scheduled international flight from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to Nairobi, Kenya. The aircraft involved was a Boeing 737 MAX 8. The flight took off from Addis Ababa Bole International Airport in clear weather conditions. Shortly after departure, the pilots reported technical difficulties and requested permission to return to the airport. The aircraft experienced erratic vertical speed, fluctuating altitude, and difficulties in controlling the airplane. Within minutes of takeoff, the aircraft's nose began to pitch up and down, indicating a possible issue with the aircraft's automated flight control system. It crashed near the town of Bishoftu, Ethiopia, just 6 minutes after takeoff. The impact was significant, resulting in the destruction of the aircraft and a tragic end. A small aircraft caught fire following an emergency landing on a freeway in California on the afternoon of August 9th.
They just reopened LA, Tony. Oh, plane crash!
Video footage documented the plane's descent and loss of control on the eastbound lanes of the 91 freeway in Corona. The aircraft was occupied by a pilot and a passenger, while a truck on the freeway was carrying 3 individuals. Fortunately, no injuries were reported. The traffic conditions at the time of the incident were light, and the pilot's skillful navigation during the landing likely averted a potentially catastrophic outcome. The short clip shows 2 Sukhoi Su-25s, worth an estimated £9.4 million each. The Su-25 aircraft was reportedly taking off from the annexed Ukrainian territory of Crimea. As the Russian jets take off, they both arc to the left. Suddenly, one of the jets drops out of the sky, slamming into the ground in an enormous explosion. Dramatic footage captures the moment a Russian fighter jet crashes to earth in a huge fireball moments after takeoff, sending plumes of black smoke pouring into the sky.
Now you're bound to hit a few birds when flying massive airplanes through the sky. According to the FAA, over 10,000 birds are struck each year by planes. That's about 26 per day. On New Year's Eve of 2011, Southwest Flight 3702 prepared for takeoff at Portland International Airport, or PDX. The passengers and crew were en route to Oakland, California, around 12:30. Shortly after takeoff, a pair of birds flew past the plane. One got sucked into the right engine. There was no stopping the takeoff process at that point. He had to take the plane up, turn it around, and land safely back at PDX. Thankfully, the plane didn't require any emergency assistance, and it taxied back to the gate. Nobody was injured, but the bird strike did cause some minor damage to the right wing. The flight was rescheduled to depart at 6 p.m. that night. Some passengers made other accommodations, while about 100 others stuck it out.
The tragedy at the Skinlive Air Show took place on the 27th of July 2002. When a Ukrainian Air Force Sukhoi Su-27 UB crashed during an aerobatics display at Skinlive Air Fairfield close to Lviv, Ukraine. Regrettably, this incident stands as the most fatal air show accident in history. Tenerife Airport is located in the municipality of San Cristobal de la Laguna, in the northeastern part of the island of Tenerife, Spain. Tenerife Airport serves as an important transportation hub, connecting Tenerife with various domestic and international destinations. The Tenerife Airport disaster is widely regarded as the deadliest aviation accident in history. It occurred on March 27, 1977, at Los Rodeos Airport, now known as Tenerife North Airport, in the Canary Islands, Spain. The disaster was a result of a series of unfortunate events and miscommunications. The accident involved 2 Boeing 747 aircraft. One was operated by KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, and the other was operated by Pan Am. The disaster unfolded when both aircraft were diverted to Los Rodeos Airport due to a bomb threat at their intended destination, Gran Canaria Airport. A large aircraft congested the limited ramp space at Los Rodeos, resulting in some planes having to park on the taxiway. Amidst the chaotic situation, an air traffic controller mistakenly instructed the KLM aircraft to take off while the Pan Am aircraft was still on the runway, intending to exit via a taxiway. This miscommunication led to a critical situation. The KLM aircraft, attempting to take off, collided with the Pan Am aircraft that was still on the runway. The impact caused the KLM aircraft to break apart and burst into flames, while the Pan Am aircraft suffered significant damage, including a rupture in its fuel tank.
December 20th of 2016 is a day Puerto Carreño, Colombia will never forget. Around 5 p.m. local time, Aerosucre Flight 157 took off from the Sherman Olano Airport en route to El Dorado International Airport in Bogota. The cargo plane, a Boeing 727, was loaded with about 20,000 pounds of cargo and 6 crew members. Catastrophe struck during takeoff, and the plane overran the runway. It tore through the airport's perimeter fence and passed over a group of plane spotters on the other side. They watched and recorded as the pilots desperately tried to regain control. Sadly, they were fighting a losing battle. The plane had already lost its number 3 engine, all of its hydraulic systems, and part of the landing gear. They glided over the ground for 2 harrowing minutes. The plane clipped a tree and a sentry box before rolling to the right and crashing into the ground. An investigation uncovered failures at every level. Firstly, the airport was too small for a Boeing 727. Next, the pilots made several preventable errors, beginning with poor takeoff procedures. Finally, they failed to activate a crucial backup system that could have saved them when things fell apart. But the most egregious failure may have been Aerosucre's fault. In a nutshell, they modified the plane to take off at slower speeds. This makes it more fuel efficient and saves money. However, they never updated the flight manual. So, when our pilots readied the plane, they set their takeoff speed to 5 knots faster than necessary. Clearly, 5 knots meant the difference between a safe flight and a tragic crash.
The Shoreham Air Show at Shoreham Airport in England on 22nd August 2015 witnessed a retired military aircraft crashing onto a main road during an aerial display, resulting in 16 hurts. This incident became the most dangerous air show accident in the United Kingdom since the 1952 Farnborough Air Show crash. The Hawker Hunter T-7 aircraft failed to complete a loop maneuver, crashing and colliding with vehicles on the A27 road adjacent to the airport. This tragedy led to stricter regulations for air shows, increasing costs as organizers had to finance new safety measures. Footage of the TransAsia Airways crash in Taipei appears to show the plane hitting the bridge moments before plunging into a river.
On October 9th of 2014, a Boeing 757 was preparing for takeoff at Frankfurt International Airport in Germany. A passenger seated near the right engine decided to record as the plane kicked into high gear. They began speeding down the runway when our cameraman witnessed something terrifying. Thankfully, the plane was going slow enough to stop and abort the takeoff. It shut down in the middle of the runway, and firefighters raced out to inspect the damage. 2 rotor blades were in bad shape, rendering the plane unflyable. Thankfully, everybody on board was okay and hopped on a different plane a few hours later.
During the Wings Over Dallas Air Show at Dallas Executive Airport in Texas, United States,
Dios mío! Oh, Dios mío!
a B-17 Flying Fortress and a Bell P-63 King Cobra collided in midair and subsequently crashed on November 12, 2022. The cause surrounding the incident is kept under wraps, and it appears that the control unit malfunctioned. The collision resulted in the destruction of both aircraft upon impact. Stay tuned for more insightful content and helpful advice coming your way soon. This is the dramatic moment showing the plane touching down on the tarmac, with the heavy landing causing one of its wheel bogies to detach and bounce into the air.
On January 15th of 2009, U.S. Airways Flight 1549 took off from LaGuardia Airport in New York City. It was en route to Charlotte, North Carolina, with 2 pilots, 3 flight attendants, and 150 passengers. From there, the Airbus A320 was supposed to fly to Seattle, Washington. Unfortunately, it never made it out of the Hudson Bay area. The pilot in command was 57-year-old Chesley Sully Sullenberger. He was a former fighter pilot in the U.S. Air Force. After retiring from active duty, he turned to commercial airlines. By January of 2009, Captain Sully had logged nearly 20,000 hours of flight time. You could say he'd seen it all in his long career. A flock of birds shouldn't have been an issue. Shortly after takeoff, Flight 1549 struck a flock of Canadian geese at about 2,800 feet in the air. Feathers and bird bits covered the windshield. Meanwhile, passengers heard rumbling in the engines. Some even saw flames. The engines stalled and the plane began falling. Sully radioed for help, saying they had lost power in both engines. Air traffic control told him to return to the LaGuardia runway, but that was impossible. Then they suggested New Jersey, but Sully knew he wouldn't make it. The safest option was to put her down in the Hudson River. ATC watched the plane glide about 900 feet over the George Washington Bridge before landing in the Hudson. 2 ferries arrived within minutes and evacuated everyone to safety. It was a miracle the plane didn't break apart and sink on impact. For their heroism, Captain Sully and his crew received the Masters Medal for Outstanding Aviation Achievement. They got a standing ovation at Super Bowl 43 and were inducted into the International Air and Space Hall of Fame. Clint Eastwood's film Sully came out in 2016, with Tom Hanks as the now world-famous pilot.
On the morning of June 30th, 2016, the events unfolding at Addison's Municipal Airport were captured by closed-circuit cameras and dash cams when a crash occurred.
Sparks.
Landing in the sandy desert was probably not the best option because the plane ended up falling apart.
Frankfurt Airport is the busiest airport in Germany based on passenger traffic. It's also the busiest airport in Europe regarding cargo. It features 4 runways with 2 passenger terminals. In total, it can serve up to 65 million flyers each year. On July 3rd of 2016, Royal Air Maroc flight AT811 was heading from Frankfurt to Casablanca, Morocco, when the pilot had a little trouble taking off. The plane taxied to the runway and hit the gas. But even as they neared the end of the 13,000-foot tarmac, the pilot still couldn't get her up. Thankfully, the pilot achieved enough lift and got the plane airborne. They continued to Morocco without any further incident. According to an internal report, the crew rotated at too low a speed but controlled the pitch to avoid a tail strike. They weren't sure why the aircraft rotated before reaching sufficient airspeed for climbing. As the video went viral online, Royal Air Maroc wanted to clear the air on some misinformation. In a 5-part tweet translated from French to English, they said the ATC tower warned the pilot of a possible turbulence wake coming off a landing A330. As a result, the captain maneuvered to accelerate and achieve speeds which permitted safe takeoff.
This video shows the de Havilland Beaver plane's crash at Lake Hood in Anchorage, Alaska on June 7, 2009.
Holy crap.
The aircraft appeared to experience a loss of control and then landed abruptly on the ground. Fortunately, all the plane's occupants emerged unharmed. It landed with only one wheel left, and this plane couldn't reach the finish line.
On the morning of December 29, 2025, Jeju Air Flight number 7C2216 departing from Bangkok, Thailand, with 175 passengers and 6 crew members had an accident while landing at Muan Airport, South Jeolla Province, South Korea. The accident occurred at 9 a.m. local time, when the plane slid at high speed on the runway without landing gear. The plane crashed into a concrete wall inside the fence and caught fire fiercely. Of the 181 people on board, only 2 crew members survived, including 1 male and 1 female.
Pilot walked away with just minor hurts following surveillance footage, revealing a single-engine Cessna striking a tree and crashing into a parking lot near Robertson Airport in Plainville, Connecticut. Like being entangled in a spider's web, the plane whirled and failed miserably. A dashcam recording captured the moment of the plane crash in Banda Elmina, Selangor on Thursday, August 17, 2023, revealing the extensive damage caused in the surrounding area. The video shows a huge fireball erupting and wreckage strewn across the road. There had been no reports of damage from the incident. Two pilots in New Zealand have attempted a dramatic takeoff from a beach after their single-engine plane crash-landed there. So amazing. On 23 November 1996, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 961, a Boeing 767-200 Air, was hijacked by 3 Ethiopian asylum seekers en route from Addis Ababa to Nairobi. The aircraft crash-landed in the Indian Ocean near Grandor, Comoros Islands, due to fuel exhaustion. Air France Flight 447 accident. The Air France Flight 447 accident remains a notable event in aviation history. Air France Flight 447 was an international flight from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, to Paris, France. The aircraft involved was an Airbus A330-203. The aircraft encountered severe weather conditions over the Atlantic Ocean, particularly in the region known as the Intertropical Convergence Zone. Around 4 hours into the flight, while cruising at an altitude of approximately 35,000 feet, the plane entered a high-altitude thunderstorm. The pilot struggled to manage the situation. They received conflicting airspeed indications and were unable to assess the aircraft's true speed accurately. The pilots were unable to regain control of the aircraft, leading to a high-altitude stall and subsequent rapid descent. Finally, Air France Flight 447 crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, approximately 680 miles northeast of Brazil's Fernando de Noronha archipelago. The impact occurred with significant force, resulting in the destruction of the aircraft and the loss of all 228 passengers and crew members on board. New dramatic video has surfaced capturing the Aeromexico plane crash in Durango, Mexico. The State Department has verified that 65 Americans were among the 103 individuals on the aircraft. Investigators examined the wreckage in an effort to ascertain the cause of the crash. Passengers recorded the moment the plane hit the ground, shaking violently and everything going black. Luckily, all of them survived.
Jesus'
On November 18, 2022, an Airbus A320neo collided with an R fire truck, resulting in hurts to 2 firefighters. The collision led to the collapse of the right main gear and subsequent fire. Consequently, the aft team had to respond to 2 accidents, one of which involved their own vehicle. Yaida is a settlement and refugee camp in Unity State, South Sudan. On March 19, 2024, there was an incident in Yaida, South Sudan, involving a Fokker 50 aircraft. Details regarding the registration and the number of passengers on board are not yet available. The plane caught fire fiercely. It seemed that rescue could not arrive in time to extinguish the fire. Damage from the accident has not been reported. On December 14, 2023, a small aircraft lost power, crashed and burst into flames on Interstate 26 in close proximity to Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh my God, an airplane crash.
The plane had departed from Knoxville downtown Island home before experiencing power loss and initiating a glide towards the northwest of Asheville. In 2018, US Bangla Airlines Flight 211 crashed while attempting to land in Kathmandu, Nepal. The report highlighted the crew's actions, particularly the risky maneuver performed by the captain during the approach. Motorists on a Florida road got the scare of their lives as a plane crashed right next to them. The single-engine plane is seen trying to pull up, but then clips a tree and crash lands right on the road. Incredibly, the pilot and passenger were not hurted. The Alatam Airbus A320 caught an accident. While it was taking off, it crashed into a fire truck and caught fire at Jorge Chavez Airport, Peru. The incident disrupted the flight and caused serious damage. Rio Negro is a province of Argentina, located in northern Patagonia. During a festival in Rio Negro, a plane crashed and hit one of its wings on the ground at high speed. The collision is not too serious. Soon it took off and flew back into the sky. Luckily, there was no accident. On July 19, 1989, United Airlines Flight 232 experienced a crash landing at Sui Gateway Airport in Sioux City. This incident occurred after the DC-10 aircraft suffered a catastrophic failure of its tail-mounted engine, which was attributed to an unnoticed manufacturing defect in the engine's fan disc. The resulting loss of many flight controls occurred while the aircraft was carrying 296 passengers and crew. At that time, this accident marked the deadliest single aircraft incident in the history of United Airlines. The catastrophic incident occurred in Santee, California in October 2021. Footage shows people coming to the aid of a couple whose home became engulfed in flames following a crash between a small plane and a Ute truck, which went on to hit two nearby houses, causing their destruction. The fire burned fiercely afterward.
No, he might have been the next house over. No, she's down here. Michael, bring her over here.
Karachi Airport is Pakistan's busiest international and domestic airport. A tragic incident occurred when a Pakistan International Airlines Pier plane flying from Lahore to Karachi, an Airbus A320, crashed near Karachi Airport.
यहाँ पर plane गिर गया है.
The aircraft, carrying 107 passengers and crew, collided with a residential area close to the southern city of Karachi. Plumes of smoke and flames were seen at the crash site. Everything burned down and the plane was in ruins. It's almost impossible to recognize it as an airplane. Following a mid-air collision at an air show in Dallas, 2 planes from the World War II era have crashed.
Oh my God! Oh Lord Jesus!
Online footage depicts the tearing apart of a Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress as it collides with a Bell P-63 King Cobra. Keep following.
What? No!
In July 2017, 2 small airplanes collided on the 405 freeway in close proximity to John Wayne Airport. After the crash, they were pulled from the plane, which was on fire. Everything that remained after the incident was rubble. Luckily, there was no human damage. Dashcam shows an accident when a small plane crashed onto the road. It appeared to have lost control before the collision. Luckily, no one was hurt. Footage from a video captures a helicopter, seemingly engulfed in flames, moving across the sky before spiraling out of control and descending towards the ground. The video then shows firefighters at the scene, revealing a significant hole in the building's roof. They tried to save the pilot and those still in the house. A Mexican helicopter suffers a forced landing. It had control problems and was severely damaged. A Carphone plane caught fire in the air. The fire burned fiercely. The cause is believed to be a fire in the engine compartment leading to the incident. The plane crashed into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City in the September 11th attacks. The plane was controlled to crash into the building. The plane exploded and caused a fierce fire. A startling video from a surveillance camera showed the moment 2 helicopters collided at the Pasadena Police Department's heliport. They parked too close to each other, causing the rotor blades to collide, and both helicopters were seriously damaged. Aeroflot Flight Su-1000 passengers escaped using emergency slides from the plane's two forward doors. There were 78 people on board, and 37 survived the incident. Passengers escaped using emergency slides from the plane's two forward doors. In 2010, a tragic aircraft crash occurred in Canada during preparations for an air show. The pilot successfully ejected from his Martin Baker Nace's seat just moments before the Canadian CF-18 aircraft crashed, believed to be caused by the control system exploding in the sky. The fire was intense, and luckily the pilot was safe. On October 29, 2015, Dynamic Airways Flight 405, a Boeing 767 flying from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Caracas, Venezuela, caught fire while taxiing. The aircraft had leaked fuel before the fire started. All 101 passengers and crew evacuated and survived, with 22 of them sustaining hurts. The aircraft had leaked fuel before the fire started. All 101 passengers and crew evacuated. This video, recorded by an amateur, shows the moment two helicopters collided on March 11, 2015 in northern Argentina. 10 people were on board. Remaining after the incident was wreckage and aircraft debris. Hopefully they were safe. Hartsfield-Jackson has been the world's busiest airport by passenger traffic since 1998. US Spirit Airlines aircraft caught fire on the tarmac after landing at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport in Georgia. Busiest airport by passenger traffic since 1998. Yes, authorities have stated that the fire was caused by overheated brakes. Smoke filled the passenger compartment. They seemed unable to breathe. And thankfully, there were no hurts reported. Authorities have stated that the fire was caused by overheated brakes. Smoke filled.
Oh, he just crashed.
On deck. 15/2022, a Lockheed Martin F-35 billion Lightning I fighter jet during a failed landing at the Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Station. The pilot exited the plane safely as soon as the plane had control problems. As of 2023, OR is considered the world's most connected airport. On October 28, 2016, American Airlines Flight 383 encountered an engine malfunction as it was taking off from Chicago OR port. On October 28, 2016, American Airlines Flight 383 encountered an engine malfunction as it was taking off from Chicago OR. The uncontrolled failure of the aircraft's right engine resulted in a serious fire, leading to the total loss of the B-767 hull. On Monday, a plane with more than 100 passengers on board made a crash landing at Miami Airport when its landing gear failed upon touchdown problems.
Don't fly Red Air. Cheap Dominican.
At Miami Airport, a Dominican Airlines plane crashed into a communications tower due to landing gear failure, igniting a fire. 3 people were quickly hospitalized. Luckily, all passengers are safe. Dominican Airline plane crashed into a communications tower due to landing gear failure. Lukla Airport is a domestic airport and ultiport in the town of Lukla, Nepal. It gained worldwide fame as it was rated the most dangerous airport in the world. Lukla Airport is a domestic airport and ultiport in the town of Lukla, Nepal. It gained worldwide. On April 19, 2019, collision between an L-410 turbojet aircraft and an AS-350 Eurocopter reported at Lukla Airport, Tenzing Hillary, Nepal. On April 19, 2019, the L-410 turbojet aircraft was out of control and strongly hit onto the AS-350 Eurocopter. Debris flew into a man nearby. Everyone is mostly safe after the incident. The L-410 turbojet aircraft was out of control and strongly hit onto the AS-350 Eurocopter. Debris flew into a man nearby. Everyone is mostly safe after. Chuhuiv hosted a significant Soviet Air Force base. A tragedy struck Ukraine as an Antonov An-26 transport plane carrying 28 Air Force cadets crashed near the town of Chugy in the eastern part of the country. The aircraft exploded in a fireball upon impact while attempting to land. Unfortunately, 22 people could not survive. In a runway skid on October 28, 2016, FedEx Express Flight 910 operating from Memphis Airport to Fort Lauderdale experienced a collapsed landing gear, leading to a fire that consumed the entire left engine and wing. FedEx Express Flight 910 operating from Memphis Airport to Fort Lauderdale. Both flight crew members escaped through the right cockpit window using an escape rope. No hurts were reported. Both flight crew members escaped through the right cockpit window using an escape rope. No hurts were reported. The airport was built from 2009 to 2012 and facilitates refugee operations in the vicinity. On November 3rd, a Transall aircraft with an all-white livery and the registration I-360 experienced a fire shortly after arrival at Dolo Airport in Somalia. Thankfully, there were no injuries reported in the incident, but the extent of the damage to the aircraft was irreversible. Juan Santa Maria International Airport is the biggest and busiest airport in Costa Rica. A Boeing 757-27A experienced a runway excursion at Juan Santa Maria Airport in San Jose, Costa Rica, after losing hydraulics, prompting its return to SKIO. 757-27A experienced a runway excursion at Juan Santa Maria Airport in San Jose, Costa Rica, after losing hydraulics, prompting its return to SKIO. Luckily, the two pilots aboard the aircraft emerged unscathed. In southern Nevada, there has been a significant rise in the occurrence and intensity of droughts due to the impact of climate change. In southern Nevada, a small aircraft crash landed on a highway. The plane descended to a low altitude before maneuvering and colliding with the median. Despite the plane bursting into flames, the pilot managed to escape before the fire intensified, consuming the aircraft entirely. No ground hurts were reported. Fukuoka Airport, situated on Kyushu Island, is Japan's fourth busiest passenger airport, serving as the main airport for the area. The Fukuoka Airport Garuda aircraft takeoff accident took place on June 13, 1996 at Fukuoka Airport in Fukuoka City, Fukuoka Prefecture. The accident was initiated by the number 3 engine's failure, which was caused by the high-pressure number 1 turbine blade in the engine fracturing due to granular oxidation fatigue. The fuselage of the plane was seriously damaged. They were left in ruins. On the 2nd of October 1986, a military Michigan 8 helicopter experienced a collision with a crane cable. Leading to a fall from approximately 50 meters near the turbine hall's walls, ultimately resulting in a fire. No evidence of any damage was found. As of 2017, the airport ranks as the 7th busiest for passenger traffic and the 3rd busiest for cargo operations in Germany. A high-impact explosion occurred at Cologne-Bonn Airport involving 2 planes. This intense event is a component of a rescue drill involving approximately 350 individuals, aiming to rehearse a remarkable emergency response operation. The helicopter's blades accidentally made contact with the wires, leading to a crash that narrowly missed hitting people as it plummeted to the ground. A small aircraft caught fire and crashed near a Colorado highway on March 8, 2022. 2 passengers managed to exit the plane safely after the crash and were taken to the hospital for evaluation, with minor hurt. The pilot intentionally steered clear of all cars while making the emergency landing in the vicinity. A military transport aircraft carrying 15 individuals has tragically crashed during takeoff from an airbase in western Russia. Officials have not yet provided information regarding any possible survivors. During its landing, the North American XB-70 experienced the blowout of almost all of its tires, leading to a fire. Furthermore, the wheels also ignited during takeoff, adding to the aircraft's issues. Hydroaviasalon is a global seaplane air show in Russia. A video filmed by a spectator at Jelenjik Air Show in Russia shows the tragic moment a Mill Michigan 8 helicopter had a malfunction and crashed on the airfield. The 2 individuals on board were unlucky, and a third person is in critical condition. No one on the ground got hurt.